Thanks for coming out. I want you to know I've already bragged 3 times about the weather to people in D.C. today, so this is awesome out here. So, 2 months ago, I went to the White House to witness President Biden sign into law the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, or the bipartisan infrastructure framework. Now, getting any bill to the president's desk is a big deal, and doing so with such overwhelming bipartisan support is certainly a rare thing these days. But this bill was historic, and it will be transformational. Finally, Infrastructure Week was more than just talk, and frankly, it's going to be a lot more than just a week. Congress came together to address the needs of all Americans, from the roads we used to get to work every day, to the pipes that deliver our drinking water to make sure it's safe and clean, to the broadband connectivity that allows us to do our work, ensures that our children have the resources that they need to learn. All this while creating thousands of jobs and helping families prosper. Now, a few of the investments that this law will make in California alone are for highways, $29.3 billion. For public transportation, $9.45 billion. For bridge replacements and repairs, $4.2 billion. $3.5 billion for clean and safe drinking water. And to build electric vehicle charging stations, $384 million. That's just for California. Now we're here to discuss that last one, electric vehicle charging. These investments will help speed the transition to clean vehicles for San Diego and support the advanced electric vehicle charging network to meet the goals of the city's climate action plan, which has been championed by Mayor Gloria well before he was mayor, by the way. And will help the county complete the electric vehicle roadmap laid out by Chairman Nathan Fletcher, who's also with us today. I'm joined by both of them today, as well as San Diego City Councilmember Marnie Van Wilpert, who chairs the city's Committee on Active Transportation and Infrastructure. Marnie's energy is what the city needs to make these things happen, and she's a leader on the council in these areas. Also here today is Jeremy Abrams and the hardworking members of the Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 569. These are the men and women who do this work, as well as... Got that, Danielle? Okay. The folks in Local 569 are the men and women who do this work, as well as train the future workforce. They'll play a critical role as we transition our workforce to a clean energy economy. You'll hear from all those folks in a minute. Federal investment in electric vehicle technology and charging stations is going to be necessary if we expect people over time to get out of their gas-powered cars and into cleaner fuel vehicles. There are people who want to make that transition because they know lower gas emissions means slowing climate change and cleaner air to breathe for them and for their children. And California is leading the way in our nation's path to a cleaner future by ending the purchases of new gas-powered vehicles in 2035. And I should say that many private sector companies, including General Motors, for instance, are making the same commitment. So this transition is coming. And that means we're going to need to build a charging facility network that's not just adequate, but abundant. That's the only way to make this transition for Californians and for all Americans. More parking lots around town could look like this one, with reliable, publicly accessible charging stations. And if drivers see that government has made the commitment to build out a system that gives them options, then leaving their gas-powered cars in the past, in the future, will get a little bit easier. Both the city and the county have launched local initiatives to build out the region's EV charging infrastructure to help San Diego transition to a climate-friendly transportation system. And this federal... It's an honor to represent Point Loma in the United States House of Representatives. This federal investment can help speed that work. Now, I want to say also, in addition to public charging stations like this one that serve the public in general, there's also significant funds that the city and the county could access and they need to help transition their vehicle fleets to electric vehicles. One of the things that the federal government is talking about right now is taking the Postal Service and making those vehicles transition to electric. Obviously, the city and county have fleets with law enforcement and fire protection as well, and they'd like to transition those fleets as well. Fleet vehicles are numerous, tend to drive throughout our neighborhoods every day, and our ability to transition them from gas to electric has the potential to cut emissions even more than many of the public charging stations we've already talked about. The problem we've discovered when we dove into the details of the new law is that there's no dedicated funding to invest in charging stations for fleet vehicles, which will make the money a little bit hard to come by. Now, the money I talked about before is formula to California. All we have to do is ask California for our fair share for these charging systems. There's money in the federal investment for fleets, but we're going to have to apply for it. And I think that's something we want to work with the city and the county. And I know both Mayor Gloria and Chair Fletcher are eager to see that done. Remember, in total, the federal infrastructure law dedicates nationwide $7.5 billion to build out a national network of electrical vehicle charging. More stations will make long-distance travel via EVs easier, and they'll provide convenient charging where people live and work and where they shop. But this federal investment only works if the local and the state governments implement it effectively. And we are lucky to have two of the best partners you could ever ask for in terms of local government here in Nathan Fletcher and Todd Gloria. They're both very committed to this. They've been leading the way a long time before this day, a long time before the federal government woke up and started to understand this. And so we're going to be ready to go in San Diego, and I'll turn it over now to my colleagues. First, Mayor Gloria.
I got you. Thanks, sir. Thank you, Congressman. Little Point Loma pause for everybody this morning. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Congressman Peters, for the opportunity to be here with you today. It's great to share this podium with someone who's been a strong leader on the issue of climate action for long before you got to Congress, but has really made that a hallmark of your service representing San Diego back in our nation's capital with few things more than this particular law, the bipartisan infrastructure law, to really point to in terms of, I think, dramatic action when it comes to climate change. I want to thank Congressman Peters for what he's doing to bring needed federal dollars home to San Diego that will directly impact and improve the quality of life of San Diegans. Also need to give a shout out to Representatives Juan Vargas, Sarah Jacobs, and Mike Levin, who partnered with Congressman Peters on the region's behalf to get this done. And of course, thanks to our President, Joe Biden, and Vice President Kamala Harris for providing the kind of leadership in the White House that, again, demonstrates progress for San Diegans and improvements in our city. I wanted to be here today to share as a member of the leadership of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, as well as a member of California's Big City Mayor Coalition. I've been advocating for investments to some of our most pressing challenges, like repairing our outdated infrastructure systems and doing our part to make sure that we stop climate change. Now, today's announcement and this focus on vehicle charging is pretty important. You know, as a renter myself, I recognize that for a lot of San Diegans, the ability to make the transition to electric vehicles is made difficult because you may not be able to have a charging station at your home. And so the dollars we're talking about this morning are about making sure that more people have the access, the ability to make that shift that Congressman Peters was talking about. I think that this funding for publicly accessible electric vehicle charging stations is badly needed as we consider a future that we need to actually make a reality in order to address the climate challenges that we face. What I know about our city and our region is that when given the opportunity, we will do our part. And that's what these dollars are going to allow us to do, give us the opportunity to do our part. I think it's appropriate to call this a game changer when you're talking about the money that's involved to make this change on a citywide and a region-wide, particularly for electric vehicle charging. Let me put it very simply. It shouldn't matter where you live in the city of San Diego, whether you're in Encanto or in San Ysidro, Linda Vista, or right here in Point Loma, you should have easy access to electric vehicle charging in order to be able to get about your day. And as you heard, we're working collaboratively as a region and with our federal partners to make sure that we pull down as much of this federal funding as possible. Congressman Peters mentioned a lot of these dollars flow through the state, but some of it we're going to have to compete for. And compete we will, and I predict that we will win. Under the inspired leadership of folks like Councilmember Von Wilpert, who is the chair of our city's infrastructure committee, we're making sure that we're putting together the applications that I believe will be successful and bring those dollars to San Diego. Specifically, we have created our own city infrastructure executive committee consisting of the affected departments to make sure that we're coordinating projects. Shout out to Alyssa Muda, who is here from our sustainability and mobility department, affectionately known as SUMO. it's appropriately named because we're ready to wrestle to get these dollars to San Diego, right? So whether that's our internal working group of affected departments or the regional working group that we've established with partners like the County of San Diego, SANDAG, MTS, the Airport Authority, the Port, the Water Authority, our Chamber of Commerce, you see this as an all hands on deck moment to make sure that not one nickel of these dollars that we are eligible for that we do not get, right? So the net of this will be not just more electric vehicle charging, but a subject that I know is passionate to every elected official up here, as well as our brothers and sisters in labor, is making sure we have a lot better roads. There are too many potholes in this city. We got to fix a lot of roads, and this measure will help us do that. Provide clean, reliable drinking water. The federal government are already major investors in the city's Pure Water project, and this will only help us make sure that becomes a reality sooner rather than later. Improving connections between housing and transit, because that's a key part of the climate puzzle. And again, this expanded electric vehicle charging. These are the kinds of things that I think will make a difference, and that's a part of why I'm so pleased to be here. Congressman Peters mentioned our landmark climate action plan. Let us remind you that this plan calls for us to transition at least 25% of our remaining vehicle miles traveled to zero emission vehicles by the year 2035. This is not going to be easy, but it'll be a lot easier because of the bipartisan infrastructure bill that Congressman Peters helped to pass. And so I appreciate the Congressman's efforts, not just on this, but as he alluded to, future efforts to make sure that we can electrify our municipal fleet. We already see electric buses traveling our city, thanks in part to Chairman Fletcher over at MTS. But we need to start seeing some electric trash trucks, some electric fire engines, and other stuff. And those are within reach. And this federal investment will make it so much more likely to have in our hands. So I've gone on enough. I want to transfer over to our partner in this effort. Again, if we're not working together, we're going to miss out on opportunities. I want San Diegans to know we are working together to make sure that we get every one of these federal dollars. And so it gives me pleasure to turn over the podium to the chair of the County Board of Supervisors, chair of MTS, the chair. He's done many things. You are getting your taxpayer dollars out of Nathan Fletcher, everybody. Nathan Fletcher.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Congressman Peters. You know, every day when you get up and you watch what's happening in the world, you got a choice to make, right? You can focus on the division and obsess on things that are not getting done or fights that are happening, or you can actually look at what's getting done. You can choose to look at what is getting done. And today we're standing here to thank Congressman Peters and the federal government in a bipartisan way that still happens every now and then. They are investing in what we need in our region. And we are so grateful for that effort and for what is happening to actually move us forward as a region and to help get things done. The second thing is, you know, they take action, they pass the bill, the president signs it. Now what folks want is they want your city and your county and your state folks all working together to make that tangible and real for people in neighborhoods. And that's what the mayor and I and Councilmember Von Wilpert and every other local elected official are working every single day. For how do we take these things that pass at the federal level and translate them down to neighborhoods and communities to show that their life is getting better? And what we have the opportunity here is to tackle three pressing problems all simultaneously. The first is we need more good jobs. We need good jobs, good paying jobs. We need jobs where folks can buy a home and they can have the opportunity to help their kids go through college. Oh, wait. We want good jobs where people can retire with dignity and they can take care of themselves. And that happens when you invest in good union jobs. And we're here today with IBEW 569 and Jeremy and the entire team. And by investing in electrical vehicle charging stations that are installed with skilled and trained electricians, we're not only investing in the advancement of embracing electric vehicles, but we're embracing in good jobs. The second thing is we know we got to take action on climate change. We know we have to do it. Whether you look at the drought or wildfires or rising sea level, we got to do it. And we also know that one of the largest emitters of greenhouse gas emissions is the gas guzzling vehicle, which is why electric vehicles are being embraced across the board. And then finally, we can clean up our air a little bit. No parent wants their kids to have asthma. But based on where you live, your kids are at a heightened risk of asthma because of the quality of the air. And a lot of that ties directly back to the trucks and the cars and the roads that are out there today. And so because of what Congressman Peters and the members of Congress and President Biden have done, it's now put San Diego in a position where we can make an investment in good jobs to build out the infrastructure we need in tackling climate change and cleaning up our air. And so I think this is an incredible thing to do, and we will do it with your city and your county working together every single day. If you live in a neighborhood you don't care, you just want it done, and so we will continue to work together to do those things. Securing the dollars is certainly not the easiest task, but as a region, we will align and be ready to go. We're also so grateful we have champions like Congressman Scott Peters here who get into the details and work to actually get things done, and we appreciate that. Time and again, Congressman Scott Peters has stepped up. When our region needed the federal funding to help us get the Blue Line trolley done, to take one stop from San Ysidro all the way to UTC, Congressman Peters stepped up and helped us get it done. When we needed the COVID relief funding, Congressman Peters stepped up to help us and be able to get it done. And now, as we need the infrastructure investment, as we need that money to, as the mayor said, not only fix our roads, but invest in the future of electrical vehicles, Congressman Peters has stepped up again, and we are so grateful for that work. And at the county, we are committed to working with all of the incorporated cities in San Diego County, and in particular with the largest one, in the city of San Diego, and Mayor Gloria and Council Member Marnie Von Wilpert, who will lead these efforts on the council and where we all need to go. And again, a special thank you to IBEW Local 569, Jeremy Abrams, their entire team, all of the workers out there as we build out the infrastructure of the future. We want skilled and trained workers from San Diego, building it right, building it safely, and building it to last. And so the efforts we're doing can help supercharge. As was mentioned early in my term on the Board of Supervisors in 2019, I brought forward a countywide effort to launch our electric vehicle roadmap. And the goal of this is just to plan out as a region, how are we ready to embrace what is on the way? How do we do it fairly? How do we make sure no communities are left behind? How do we have governments as a leader moving forward? And we're beginning to see the fruits of our labor with hundreds of new EV charging ports coming available, both for our county fleet along with the public. By the end of 2020, we'll have another 200 of these available. That'll bring us another 100 or so electric vehicles to our county fleet, bringing us closer to the governor's goal of 100% electric vehicles in our county fleet. And we are making the difficult steps. It's hard and it's challenging, and you've got to think differently. We learned that at MTS when we brought our zero emission all electric buses, building out the charging capacity and infrastructure and training the workers. What I love about those buses in particular is they're not only built in America, they're built right here in California. And so again, there's good jobs to build out the components that we put right here. And so we're going to keep moving forward. The Clean Cars for All program is a component of CARB that we finally got up and running here in San Diego to help some of our lower income communities. We're working with SANDAG, SDG&E on the Accelerate to Zero initiative to make sure we're doing the charging infrastructure the right way. And we will always push at the county to make sure that our county infrastructure and our charging stations are built with properly trained technicians using the electrical vehicle infrastructure training program. And this is a vital and important component. So again, so grateful for all of the leadership of Congressman Peters at the federal level, the tremendous partnership and leadership of Mayor Gloria and Council Member Marnie Von Wilpert, who is leading these efforts on the City Council. We are moving to deliver for folks in neighborhoods and communities who just want to be able to buy an electric car, have it be affordable, be able to charge it, and make sure that your government leaders have thought about how we build out this infrastructure. And with that, I would like to welcome Council Member Marnie Von Wilpert.
Thank you very much. My name is Marnie Von Wilpert. I am the San Diego City Council member for District 5. I'm also the chair of our Active Transportation and Infrastructure Committee here at City Hall. Thank you to our Congressman Scott Peters, and our entire San Diego delegation is doing incredible work for us at the federal level. Thank you to our chair of our Board of Supervisors, Nathan Fletcher, and the chair of MTS. Thank you to our mayor, who's leading the charge, just got back from Washington, D.C., advocating for us here in San Diego. One thing to take from this press conference is that the residents of San Diego County can be assured all levels of government are working together in the same direction to really make progress on climate change. And that's something I know people want to see. They want to see us all in line, all working together, and that's what we're here to do today. So as the chair of our Active Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, I get to help lead the way to make sure that San Diego builds the green infrastructure we need to see to change our future. We have to build San Diego differently today to build the future city we want to live in tomorrow. In order to transition away from our dependency on gas-guzzling greenhouse gas emissions vehicles, we have to build the EV charging infrastructure all throughout the city so that people can purchase and rely on electric vehicles. I'll tell you, I personally am a renter. I rent an apartment here in Scripps Ranch, and I don't have the capacity to install an EV charger in my apartment because I don't own. So we have to think about that for the thousands and thousands of San Diegans who want to invest in this but aren't able to do so on their own. We need to do more than just, at least it's a small plane for me. We need to do more on our green infrastructure plan than just our vehicle emissions, which is the biggest part of vehicle emissions in San Diego. We know that greenhouse gas emissions come primarily from trucks and cars on the roads. However, we have an opportunity with the historic Infrastructure and Jobs Act in the federal government to really plan for the green future of our city and our infrastructure as a whole. Our storm drain system right now is so antiquated. We allow all of the gallons, the thousands of gallons of water that run through every day, not just when it rains, when people water their lawns, with car washes, and it goes straight out into the ocean and pollutes our bays and oceans. We need to build green infrastructure to naturally capture that water runoff. Use it. We have droughts every year. We have opportunities to do all of that and more with this bill. And finally, it's not just the Infrastructure Act, it's the Infrastructure and Jobs Act. We have a trained, skilled workforce here in San Diego to create local jobs and keep this money in our economy. And usually we've heard so often with the pandemic that the problem is the labor force. We don't have enough workers. This is the opposite problem. We actually do. We have a great, skilled, trained labor force ready to go to install these EV charging stations today because IBEW has been investing for years in training our workforce to make sure we're ready for this moment. And also IBEW, it's not just a brotherhood, it's also a sisterhood. We have quite a few women here who are trained, skilled electricians, and we need to highlight that this is a job for everyone in San Diego. So thank you again for having me here today. I really do envision San Diego as being a leader in this movement. You know, I grew up here, and I want every child who grows up in the future to be in a city where they breathe clean air, and they know they have access to the things they need to make sure that our city stays resilient and green, and we start today. So with that, I would love to introduce the head of the IBEW here in town, Jeremy Abrams. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Jeremy Abrams, the business manager at IBEW 569, the electricians union that represents 3,700 skilled and trained local power professionals throughout San Diego and Imperial Valley. IBEW 569 members are known for quality electrical craftsmanship. We build schools, high-rises, hospitals, housing, and renewable energy projects, including thousands of EV car charging stations. Our union has been a longtime proponent of clean energy, and we strongly support reaching zero carbon emissions by 2035, and doing so with the creation of good middle-class jobs and labor principles inclusive of prevailing wages, electrical state certification requirements, and a local and skilled trained workforce. The Infrastructure Jobs Investment Act will fund electric vehicle infrastructure and provide critical investment to bolster San Diego's clean energy future. These investments should include high road jobs. Construction apprenticeship programs have a proven track record of taking a high road with excellent training and education and opportunities to earn while you learn, with professional certifications and college credits that create a lifelong middle-class career and opportunities for apprentice graduates here in San Diego and Imperial Valley. With industry partners, IBEW 569 owns and operates the Electrical Training Center and electrical apprenticeships with good wages, family health care, retirement benefit, and college credits. And we've expanded our apprenticeship to serve more than 550 in the program right now. Apprenticeship is the high road to quality construction careers. The UC Berkeley Center for Labor Research and Education recently issued a report titled Putting California on the High Roads, Jobs, and Climate Action Plan. The report includes skill upgrades via certification like the EVITP that they build upon certified electricians' foundation skills. The EVITP curriculum was developed and based on evidence of worker public safety risk that's associated with the installation of these public charging stations. IBW 569 prides ourselves on being at the forefront of construction and these green energy trends, and we graduate all of our apprentices currently with the EVITP certification. Together we can create good middle-class quality construction careers that meet climate goals, reduce air pollution, and provide safe, clean transit for working people. IBW 569 supports clean zero emissions vehicles like electric cars, buses, and trucks. We've been working to support policies and programs that get clean vehicles on roads and build out the EV ITP infrastructure, and we support them. Our policymakers should require all electricians who construct, install, or maintain these EV ITP stations to hold a current EV ITP certification. Again, IBW 569 is training electricians to safely install charging units through EVITP as a best industry standard. Now's the time to take the high road with EV infrastructure and the creation of good union jobs with the skilled and local trained workforce. That also includes the EVITP certification. The green economy can charge up communities with the climate action, good jobs, career training, and quality EV infrastructure. And now's the time to get it done. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. Just coincidentally, by the way, I failed to mention, this morning I actually toured with my colleagues Juan Vargas, Congressman Juan Vargas, and Congressman Mike Levin, the apprenticeship center at IBEW. And obviously we're very impressed with what they do. They train these people to do the jobs right, so they don't have to be done again. We can rely on the safety and quality of the work that they do. Are we happy to take any questions now, or we could do one-on-one as well? Sir?
Yes. Drew Miller with KUSI. What's some of the incentives that the city may be offering for people who are not able to make the switches easy, or maybe don't want to make the switches easy?
You want to take that?
Yeah, the California Resources Board has had a program for many years called Clean Cars for All. It should be called Clean Cars for Some. But what it's designed to do, and San Diego, unfortunately, the prior San Diego representative on the board didn't activate this program and take available state funding, and we have now. And what it's designed to do is, the reality is, if you're going to buy a $150,000 Tesla, getting a $1,500 state tax credit is not going to influence the decision you make. If you can afford that $150,000 Tesla, you're going to buy it. What we're talking about is, how do we go into those neighborhoods and communities and folks that are never going to contemplate that, people who don't ever buy new cars. And in particular in the secondary market, how do you take a used electric vehicle, which is actually affordable, and for a lot of folks has a range that is plenty good, but if no one in your neighborhood has ever had one or installed a charging station or gone through that, you don't know how to do it. And so the Clean Cars for All program is designed to do that, to go to some of those working class communities and say, hey, if you want to have an option, we have a significantly greater amount of money that can help get those folks in. Now, there's an added benefit, is that when every neighborhood starts getting one of these, folks realize it's not a spaceship. You can actually save money over the duration of this, right? There is cost savings from electric vehicles. The cost to fuel it is less, the cost to maintain it is less. And so if we can help bridge over that entry point in, then it can really help a lot of folks who want to adopt it. On the second part of your problem, we got more folks now who want to get an electric vehicle than we have available and affordable vehicles. And so the second part of your thing is just a problem we're not necessarily facing today. But I think it's important that we make sure we're looking out for all neighborhoods. And those neighborhoods Clean Cars for All target are the areas that have the dirtiest air, that have the highest levels of pollution. And so we're trying to make it a little bit more fair and get few people a few more opportunities. So that's one program that is launching that I think can be very impactful.
And one more. Power plants, because with more EV charging stations, do you perceive we're having to maybe also invest in power plants to supply the power?
That's interesting. You know, the power is supplied nationally in aggregate, working the grid to make sure that we supply power is a big part of what we're working on in Congress. I think what we're trying to do is to make sure that the sources of that power is as clean as possible. So that's a challenge for every state, but as we transition from gasoline to electric, we'll put more requirements on the grid. And as we electrify homes instead of necessarily supplying them with gas over time, that makes the grid more important. Some of that power can be distributed power that's not centralized. It's sort of provided on rooftops or in local areas, but a lot of it will depend on a grid that's more modern, more efficient, and bigger. Okay.
That's a wrap.
All right. Thanks.
Jump.
That was your case.